covering all your favorite parts of the 50-yard fight. This is the Inside the Walls podcast with Zach Kyleman and Jim Mernier.
Welcome, everyone, and welcoming on fans of the 50-yard fight. This is the Inside the Walls podcast. You might have gotten the hint off that clip, obviously, as I'm going to quote a famous song from Appetite of Destruction from Guns N' Roses. Welcome to the jungle on this episode of the show. Continuing our team preview series, as you can see, Orlando is on the docket. The Predators are on the docket today, and I'm going to bring in my co-host, as always, here, my good buddy, my good pal, my partner in crime, you name it. He is the man in the other side on his own separate section of the U.S. It is Jim Mernier joining me in, as it is episode 88 of the Inside the Walls podcast. And as again I will say, welcome to the jungle. The Predators are on the docket. Jim, how you doing today? We're continuing on with the series, the season ever so closer now. We're within the 30-day limit. We are under a month away from NAL action.
We are 3 weeks away when this 4 weeks away. We got Orlando, Caroline next week, Albany. Then after that, we have we're here. We're
right there, man. It's right there.
We are there. Yes, season is finally here. It's getting closer. Today we're talking Orlando Predators action. And first off, there is some news that we need to talk about, ladies and gentlemen, is that my co-host upgrading his career from 900 miles from Jacksonville. Eventually, it's going to be 1,400 miles from Jacksonville.
Yeah. If it hasn't been a secret yet, I'm heading out down to Arizona for a job promotion. So, uprooting myself and moving on. This is actually the last episode I'm recording in my old studio here in Indianapolis. So I will be switching gears to the new place out there in Phoenix, or at least Chandler, to be more specific. But yeah, I'm kind of excited for that, man. Next week's episode might look a little weird if my setup's not ready, but trust me, it'll be better to get on than to miss a show with you, my friend. So, yeah, fun times ahead.
Well, it's Arizona, which the scheduling purposes will be unique, but still, congratulations again of working with a major brand of a TV network called Fox. It's pretty exciting. That's their headquarters, right, in Phoenix? Is that the headquarters?
Yeah. Well, it's their distribution center for television. So I'll be basically helping make sure that any of Fox's primetime, cable, some of their special reports you see in the afternoon. We're talking like Tubi. We handle their streaming channels on that service. All that stuff, I'm helping operate. So I'm looking forward to checking that out. Network television, it's the next step for me in my career. So that alone is also pretty big next choice to do.
Well, then again, congratulations on your advancement in your career. I've known other people from other shows have reached out to you, especially your Facebook comments or post. I saw that you almost got over like 8,000 freaking impressions on it. I'm like, Zach is very popular, and hey, you're moving up in the world, my friend. So
I appreciate all the good vibes from people. That's certainly something I haven't gotten to say yet until this episode. Is that absolutely is going to be much appreciated. And again, I can't thank people enough. I will say that, and I'm happy to say this right now, and I'm going to say this until for some reason it changes. Still on this show, still on USFL podcast. I ain't going away from those unless things were to happen to change. So status quo is still staying. Again, Just got to figure out the scheduling because, as you know,
Mhm.
3 hour difference right now. But fun fact for all of you out there, Arizona does not change during daylight savings time. So part of the year it's a 3 hour difference from the East Coast. Part of the year it's 2 hours, but the time always stays the same in the state. Only them in Hawaii don't follow the changes in hour during the year.
Well, here's a fun fact. I think the people in Arizona may agree with the people in Orlando, where it's time to, change the clocks from time to time to redo a new, especially with this year's version of the Orlando Predators. As everyone remembers, last season, the Predators were a team that got off to a somewhat of an okay start. Injuries hit, and then the season just disintegrated after that.
Oh yeah.
It was a disappointing year for Orlando, and like many teams in the arena football era, sometimes you can be elite, and then the next year you can be inept. And that was the Orlando Predators from 2 years ago. 2 years ago they made the playoffs, and then
Mm-hmm.
next year they were not there. And one thing we've noticed about the Orlando Predators this year or this offseason is their mission to getting players back that were either A, major contributors last season or last few seasons. There are some players coming back and some big names coming back that some Orlando Predators fans will recognize. But to start off this show, Zach, what's your opinion that the Orlando Predators need to do this year to erase what last year was?
Well, last year, so early on in the season when they had Raheem Cato and company, I felt offensively they were very much either you're on or off, hot and cold. The I can use inconsistent as a blanket term, but I think hot and cold kind of was more the thing. You'd see games where like they'd put up easily 28 and a half with like 28 and just one half without any question, but then next half they would just completely bottom out. Stuff would just get figured out. Things would not stay on track. You wouldn't have execution being played out, and you get back behind in the possession battles. Or first half, you just couldn't figure things out of the gate. Second half, they'd become roaring back. But again, in arena football, you can't really sacrifice too much of a lead. Comebacks can happen, but like you don't want to sink yourself too early too. You do want to be able to keep yourself in striking distance. So, this year, I think a lot of the question comes down to, you know, who is going to lead this offense to keep them on schedule and keep them upset. That defense that added pieces back and is getting healthy can help anchor them for wins this year. I think what's another thing that's understated from last year. Brandon Fuentes getting knocked out for the season early on, I think really affected some of the prospects. Josh Jenkins was fantastic last year, but really the main defensive secondary threat and not having someone on the opposite side, I think hurt them. So having Fuentes and Jenkins anchoring those two sides, that's going to be huge. I think defensively they'll take strides. Their key this season, though, really is going to come down to can they stay on schedule and can they score on a consistent basis? They have all this, as we've stressed and have, I think, beaten to death on this show. They have all
Yeah.
this all of these specialty player talents that they have brought. And I got to give the Preds credit. Herky Walls has a great roster in front of him that has tons of potential, but they have to execute. The only way they're going to take that step and be a massive threat in this league, because they have that potential to me. They have that potential based on what's on paper. The only way they're going to take that step is if they can build from last year with what Coach Higgins couldn't and be consistently dominant in all phases and avoid mental errors. They can win games. They have a potential to be a dark horse to run for that championship weekend, but they have to be consistent out of the gate and they have to be able to finish when needed all 4 quarters, not just in halves. That's what sticks out to me this year that they have to do.
We know, like everyone from our preseason, pre-camp power rankings, a lot of people question that me and yours fandom for the Orlando Predators is, a little bit too above, normal expectancy because we said that they have the best receiving core. When you look at the talent, they have number one starters all up and down that receiving core.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, some of those players might get released because of how the arena game is and the roster size. The question that we always say about any organization, any team, is the term that everyone says: defense wins championships, offense gets you there. One thing about Orlando last year, their defense showed up in a lot of games. Their offense didn't. And when their offense did, their defense didn't. They never had
Mm-hmm.
consistent games where both sides of the football were going in. And one thing that Orlando didn't have an issue with last year was their special teams. They were one of
Yeah.
the best teams in the NAL last year in special teams. They had Daniel Justino, who is now with the Sharks, who was a good kicker. You had Brandon Fuentes back there. You had Joshua Jenkins back there. You also had Clarence Williams back there doing returning kicks. So you had a specialist. There was a they were, I think, if I had the stats, I think they were number 2 in the league last year in deuces. That's crucial in the game. One thing you look at the Orlando Predators, besides from that last year, was the inconsistency of putting a complete game together. They started great in the first half, no show in the second half. No show in the first half, came back in the second half. It was so in the words of Zach Kyleman last year, it's so aggravating that they have all this talent and they just only show up for a half
They
for like
they
4
were
week period.
they were easily the most frustrating team last year to watch because of
Agreed.
what was available on both sides. And again, Brandon Fuentes, again, he got knocked out, way early in the season. So that's an all NAL talent right there that you don't have at your disposal in the secondary, and was a specialty player, for them. Keep that in mind. But or actually, no, he was a two-way. I take that back because he was doing receiving work for them early going for the season. It's just, even with him gone, they had possibilities of winning more games and sneaking into the playoffs. In my opinion, if they just put a bit more of some things together. I mean, I can think of their one loss to the Gunslingers as one that I think is very much a frustrating one that they could have had back. I think both their games against the Sharks you can look at and say, again, if they put 4 quarters together, one of the two matchups, they roared right back. They just needed a few possessions to go their way, and they could have walked out. They could have walked out of Jacksonville with a win.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to put full games together. That's the thing, And I really think this year they have that shot. Herky Walls could make a big impact right now, and really, I think if you look at Orlando in terms of just like fan base, this is a fan base in Orlando that's we saw last year came back even more so in full force. Imagine if this is a winning team. That's going to be a rowdy place in the jungle again. If you can get a winning record, even in losses, they showed out. But like, if you can get a winning record again, like you did 2 years ago, you start churning wins. You start showing that you indeed are executing like you should, and that roster turns out to be what we think it is on paper. That's going to be a great atmosphere. And I really do believe that they are just one step away, possibly. And I think it comes down a lot to who is behind center. Jack Sheehan, I think, is going to tie this all together. If he puts together some of his performance from what he had in the IFL last year in Green Bay, then this could be a dark horse to make at least a case for the playoff push and a case for at least getting a championship bid. Dark horse, though. I still favor, of course, San Antonio and Albany in this case, but all the skill position players and the solid front three on both sides of the ball that Orlando has, it's really imposing if Sheehan comes out and balls right out of the gate.
Well, speaking of the atmosphere in Amway Arena, and ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening on podcast platform, thank you, because we know people listen to us on the podcast platform.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate it. Remember, season tickets are on sale now. OrlandoPredators.com. There's nothing better than an Orlando's Predators home game. Visit OrlandoPredators.com for more details, or Ticketmaster.
I think one thing while we're talking about just kind of things for this year with some returning players. So I want to see a few of these guys that maybe weren't as common with Iron Man for Orlando take steps this season. So, for example, one person I am watching for that I was really surprised didn't have as much of an impact. As you see, we got some roster pieces here from the website brought up. I was really shocked that Lonnie Outlaw wasn't as involved as much last year. And credit, the QB position was kind of all over the place, but dude, we saw him 2 seasons ago in Columbus. You know he can be a number one threat for that size, and I think he was also kind of getting adjusted to his position in the linebacking core. Him being more the being the jack linebacker at that case last season. So, I think if he takes another step in that regard, and if you can get him more targets, he really should get more targets. That's someone I think could really excel. Larry Beavers, I thought, did a great job last year. And you see like other guys, like they brought Pinchinola back. Dude was an underrated star for them 2 years prior when they went to the playoffs as well. They got Clarence Williams again, who I thought very much went under the radar and deserved a lot more praise for his performances. There's just endless talent. Like Jared Dangerfield's on this roster. I could keep going on. You and I could keep going on for all these people, and they're going to have to trim that down. It'll be an iron sharpens iron type of training camp for them. But dude, they really could be the threatening team if they just, as long as Sheehan plays, they're going to make every week, at least to me, entertaining.
Well, you're forgetting about one of the best receivers on the roster, Rob Jones.
That too. And that's another one that sneaks under the radar. They have so much receiving talent on this roster that they're going to have to pick through. But like, I really am gushing at like how they could be that dark horse team.
Yeah. You look at the team overall. There's a couple players, and for me, Daquan Murray and Freddie Booth are key components in this whole masterpiece. Those two individuals were a freaking beast last year.
Booth was leading in sacks last year until he was knocked out with injury. That man, full season of work, he'll also be a threat again right in the middle. Dude was getting back there.
And also you got Desmond Maxwell and you got Kyle Alfred, two fullbacks last Mac. Jacks, linebackers. Oh, wait a minute. Yes. No. Okay. Let's keep going. Jim corrected himself. Maybe he's wrong or right. I don't know. One of our loyal listeners will message us when this podcast release on Lovely Friday. We'll find out pretty soon. Or I'll find out pretty soon. I'll get the notification. But if you look at the roster, you see they brought in Jeff LeGray in, and on the here it says John. He goes by Jack. Again, John, Jack. There's another name. We'll click more clarification with that. Orlando Predators fans, you might have a special episode again this weekend or later today. So FYI, dropping. You get 2 doses of your Predators. But the key component, I look at this roster, and I look at Brandon Fuentes coming back. And also I look at Joshua Jenkins coming back. And then you're going to look at one of the receivers, either Shinola or Rob Jones is going to be your third DB. They have a solid roster. Do they have the best overall roster in the league? Probably not. Do they have the best receiving core in the league? From me, from you, yes. Mason had him, I think, at second, in the power rankings in the receiving core.
You it's a solid case for them. I've heard others too. Like I said, Albany's definitely in that mix as well. San Antonio absolutely is in that mix. But like, again, you have so many high, like at least either quality veterans or like stars from the league that are on this one, or arena stars from the AFL days. Like, it's kind of hard not to put them at the top just for how much they can choose to pick talent wise, and again, some of these guys, like I said, Lonnie Outlaw, he got his Iron Man shtick, his Iron Man like play last year, his first year with that underway. So like now he gets to have a second year build on that, and I hope again that dude, for how tall he is, should be getting targets almost every other play. Jump ball city for him. Like, we know that you should be throwing his way if he is one-on-one anytime you see it.
Agreed. And one thing about Lonnie Outlaw, he can beat you on the field, and he can beat you in the night in the comedy zone.
dude, that man is one of the funniest men in the NAL, hands down.
And to the Orlando Predators fans, I know it's an arch rival, or because of the jungle, go watch the Columbus documentary. inside the lines, you will know why we say he can beat you on the field and in the comedy room. The guy he's a great character. We had him on the show last year or 2 years ago. I think it was
Last year.
last year. That was
Yeah,
last year during
preseason
camp.
last year.
He's such a great dude and genuine dude. And I actually talked to him when he was in Jacksonville, was playing with Columbus. Guys always with a smile on their face, and that's one thing we like about Lonnie Outlaw. Again, he trials and tribulations for him. He played in Philly, then he
Mm-hmm.
came down to Columbus, now in Orlando. He's played with some good quarterbacks in this league. And last year, I think the reason why he wasn't targeted a lot last year is the inconsistency that was the quarterback room in Orlando.
Yeah, I we need to get him back on
Hmm.
later this season. But yeah, I do think, like I said, if Jack Sheehan comes out and does anything like he did with his IFL numbers, which we under which we underest I'll admit, I think I underestimated my QB rankings, and I think maybe he might be the surprise guy. But you know, just any consistent floor to get the ball to these guys to where they can take advantage of their height or speed, you know, they'll be in every game this year. I have no doubt about it. Um, yeah, without a doubt. So Herky Walls is a good roster setup. Um, it's just really going to come down to that position, and just
Like
playing all four quarters.
all four quarters. I've said this before in multiple shows, and I'll say it next week for the Carolina show, and I'll say it with Coach Manos in a couple of weeks. You can have the best dang roster in the game. If you cannot execute, I don't care who you have on your roster, you're going to lose no matter who you're going to play. I've seen some of the best teams in NFL history with the most stacked rosters get demolished by a team that doesn't even pay players. You look at Major League Baseball, happens all the time. The New York Yankees have, well, I don't think they're the highest payroll now. I think it's San Diego or Dodgers. Historically, the Yankees have always been the team that spent outrageous on the roster. And they consistently are getting beat in the first round of the playoffs by Tampa Bay,
Mm-hmm.
who has 10 times like the payroll for the Yankees is 10 times more than in the Rays, but they found a way. It doesn't matter who you have on your team. But like we said, Orlando has could have the best receiving core. The quarterback room is a question mark.
Yeah.
Does Jack Sheehan step come up and is just like Cato? Is he better than Cato? I've seen him some highlight films with him over in the IFL last year. He has the capability of being better than the quarterback situation last year. And of course, with Legay, Legee, is it Legay? Jeff Legay? Jeff Legay.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, with his experience with out in New Jersey, uh, Orlando has question marks like every team. It's the execution. I don't know. Like I said, I don't care how much money you spend towards your teams. Then build up your roster. If you can't execute that 2 yard between the line scrimmage, that 1 yard on the offensive side, 1 yard defensive side, you can't win that 2 yard battle. You're going to lose a lot of football games, no matter what type of receiving cores you had, or who's your quarterback. And we get a lot of hate from players, not players, but a lot of hate from fans saying that we favor too many teams sometimes. Jim's too big of a Sharks fan. Sorry, I'm a season ticket holder, diehard fan. I think I've missed like 2 games in my whole life with the Sharks. But when we talk good about San Antonio, we're labeled San Antonio fans. Or we talk good about Orlando. It's like
It's
there's certain groups on each team that we love.
it's hard to balance. I mean, I'll be honest. This episode, you'll probably and I think throughout this offseason, you might. I'm surprised no one's come up to us and said, "Are you guys favoring the Orlando Predators this year?" So, hey, I don't know, but look, I mean, maybe this is more pressure to perform because we really do think that there is something here,
Yeah,
and I would
like
it could go either way, but I do think I would not be shocked if come like quarter season, you
mhm.
know, they at least can be like above like a 3-1 team or something like that, you know, and you're going, okay.
This is not this is not a bold prediction or a bold statement. Orlando has the roster where they could be 3-1, but they also have a roster that they can be 1-3 and or 4 because you get the question marks at the most important position you're in a game, which is the quarterback. If they have an answer at quarterback, then yeah, they could be that 3-1 team. And we like we said about Jacksonville last week, and with our conversation with Gibson is like he really believes that the D line and the defense of Jacksonville is going to be one of the elite defenses in the league, and he knows that he's going to get bashed because of the quarterback position, and he doesn't care. There's teams out there, especially in Albany, they have the weapons, they have the mentality, they have the culture. It's the Albany way. You look at Carolina, they've been there, they've done that. Now it's like, can we get there again and get over the hump and actually win it? In Orlando, last year was such a bitter taste for that fan base.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to get my Sharks fandom out of it. It's kind of bittersweet. But as a non-Shark fan right here, but as an Orlando, that fan base has been through so much stuff over the last 20 some odd years with championships and domination to getting into the NAL and having the first year was oh my God, it was
I, I'm
not good.
I'm glad we're past that, by the way.
Yeah,
Like that it's so nice. It's refreshing to have Orlando be a consistent presence in the NAL
exactly.
now, and like a stable franchise. You know, we're past the some of the 2019 or post 2019 talk,
Correct.
and we have, and you know, John Chaney and company, Nate Starling, they have put together a really good organization out there
Hmm.
that community is proud of and is glad to be coming back to. So really glad to have them back and building this. You know, it's building up every year. They've gotten more and more exposure and fan base, I think, churning over again and again from what we've been told, and that's awesome to hear. You
Again,
know,
their last home game, I think they had over 8,000 fans there.
yeah, they
That's
stacked
exciting.
that place. It
That's
was This is
perfect.
really sweet. I think it was easily, it was either the largest or at least one of the
It was
top
a, it was the largest of the season,
largest. I mean,
league
that's
wide.
nuts. That's
Yeah,
great to hear. You know,
and
because
they
that's
have
what
a beautiful
Orlando.
venue.
Because I mean, Orlando used to be one of the. I mean, as a franchise, it is one of the most, in terms of arena football franchises that you know. It's one of those that is one of the longest running as a brand. So, you know, just having that
It was the
consistent
brand at
building.
one point.
You know, mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was the brand at one point. That's how good that franchise is, and that having that 8,000 fans there last home game against Jacksonville really felt like that's the Orlando of old. And if they can get that mentality and that type of atmosphere back at Amway, it'd be epic.
Oh,
And
of
you know
course.
how easy it is to get there, ladies and gentlemen? Orlando Predators football.com or
Yeah.
Ticketmaster. Tickets are on sale now.
Yeah, go. I say, yeah, season tickets, single game tickets are coming up really shortly, so
Mhm.
you'll be watching out for those too if you aren't able to get the season pass. But seriously, go check out a game. I would, the day I can get back out to Orlando, that is like my first priority, because that the jungle looks like a ton of fun every time I've talked to people or have watched. You know,
I've had good times there. Just
good,
saying, I've had
good answer.
yeah, I've had good times there. Um, Pocketbook, not so much, but yeah, I've had good time.
Okay.
It's a beautiful arena. Yeah, I go down there a lot for other events in that arena. Um, and the city knows how to put on a good show, and they're just desperate for a winner because there's another football league right now being played in that city that they're a complete embarrassment to that city. And I think Predators, they put some wins on there. I
Yeah,
think
that
those fans will translate and go to Amway. And plus, it's
that would be
in the dome.
ideal. Be rooting for an 0-4 team right now in Orlando is definitely not, I think, on
No.
people's minds.
and,
So
and yes, I did take a shot at that team down there, but not the Predators, the other one.
it's
Um,
okay. The
I'm
Preds are coming, guys. They should be a solid team, and we thinks so.
now Orlando fans, football fans, they have an argument. They might have the best spring football team ever. They just couldn't get the season completed.
Mm,
The Apollos
true.
had a dang good team, but anyways,
Balls were good.
that was a good team. That's a different. But you know what? We're talking about the Predators. We already did the tickets. You know what to do. What games are you guys going to?
Schedule
Let's
time, people.
schedule time. Let's okay. Technical difficulties again. Jim with his technical I gotta go find the screen. My bad. Please hold. Dee, 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 dee.
Dee, 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 dee,
Um,
dee.
oh, here we go.
Hey, all right.
The schedule is 12 game, as you know. San Antonio and the Orlando Predators are the only two teams with 12 games, as the rest of the league are playing 14 home games. Predators have no set teams to play three games with. They play everyone twice, one home and one away. Zach.
Yeah. So, as Jim had mentioned there, so no rubber matches being played here. It's either win all or split for all of these setups here for the Orlando Predators. A few things to keep in mind with this schedule. You might notice that one of the particular stretches I think you're going to keep an eye on is that week 10 through week 14 setup later in the season. You got one bye week in there, but it is the Preds' long homestand that they're going to be taking there, and it's going to be most likely against well, I mean, we talk about the muck, of course, but like I think this is a good chance that you're going to be playing against the tops in the league, and you'll have a lot of playoff implications for the Predators figured out by then. I mean, you're leading off that homestand credit home, so the jungle's going to have to be rowdy here. But you got the Albany Empire coming to town. You then have the Cobras, of course, with McCollum and company coming out there. You know, the Gunslingers, who are going to be to us considered one of the two locks that we think will be in the playoffs. And then they finish with the Sharks, which, trust me, that rivalry is going to be loud, and you're going to have some Sharks fans traveling for that one, most likely on that little bus tour they do going to some of the places. So that homestand to me is going to be crucial. Yeah, Jim, I see you. I see you. I could see you going out there.
It's only an hour and 20 minutes from where I live, so it's a little quick shot. Again, the arena, Amway Arena is a beautiful venue. I love the arena. It's a good venue for arena football. And you look at the schedule again. One of the it's balanced, but at the same time, I know there's a lot of uh, Predator fans are like, man, we're away for 4 weeks again from home. It's not
Mm-hmm.
bad. San Antonio's away for what, 7 weeks from their
Well, I
home?
mean, so yeah, that I think that stinks because they get that home stretch 10 through 14, but then they end the season with, credit there's a bye, but you have to end on a 2-game away stint and do some travel. So, in theory, if you are close to locking up a playoff spot, you are, you kind of hope that you get a chance to maybe have a chance at a home game. Otherwise, your end of your home stand will be week 14. So basically, in June, late May, you'll be saying sayonara to the jungle really quick. So that's unfortunate, but the hope is that homestand late in the year, you're in striking distance when you come up into week 10, and then you can win some of those crucial games to help you push yourself over the hump to get into those 4 playoff seedings.
And that's a big part. But especially with that stretch, you're playing 5 of 7 games at home. In between, well, there's three. Well, luckily you get 5 bye weeks, but in that back half, 3 bye weeks, starting with week 8, going to week 15, you got Warbirds, Empire, Cobras, Slingers, and Sharks at home. If you want to be a playoff team, you
Mm-hmm.
have to, my opinion, you have to win 3 of those 5 at home. And find a way to steal one in Jacksonville, probably, or steal one up in Albany, or just cap off win both Mustangs and the Warbirds at the end of the year. Because right there is 5 wins. If you go 3-2 at home and you take 2 of those games out west, there's 5 wins right there. Find a way in your 12-week schedule. Find a way to get a win either in at home week 1 against Fayetteville or week 6 against Carolina, because one thing that we've noticed in the NAL for the last 5 years of its existence is 500 football, ladies and gentlemen, gets you in the postseason.
Yeah.
6-6 gets you in. 7-7 gets you in. And that for them, I think for the Predators, you find a way to manage that. For instance, this is just me being hypothetical. They beat the Mustangs. They're 1-0. Okay, they'll go on to they'll lose to the Empire and the Sharks. Okay, they're 1-2. And they're home against the Cobras. Let's say they get a tough loss to the Cobras. So right there, you're
Mm-hmm.
1-3. It's very that's not being I'm not discrediting the Predators. There's a good chance that could happen. There's also a good chance that it could be the opposite. They could go 4-0.
Yeah.
But then you can go back home. So you get that bye week, you get regrouped. Because I could see that, I could see the mentality where they can lose in the Empire, and you get that bye week. So okay, let's get ready and get ready for the Sharks, and lose again. You got there's your slump right there.
Hmm.
Get the you get the win against Fayetteville, then you come back home, you get the win against Warbirds. You go out west to San Antonio, stumble, then you win maybe one game against you get probably one games against either the Empire or the Cobras, or you take three of the four of that 4 game home stretch, and all of a sudden you're right there at 5-4 with
Yeah.
2 games left in the season, and or 3 games left in the season, and you can beat the Mustangs and Warbirds to cap off the year. You're looking at 6-6, possibly 7-5, and 7-5 based on winning percentage could get you to a 3 seed probably. So there's some chances of a team for them to get there, but again, like you stated, week 14 through week 10 is going to be a crucial stretch of games for the Orlando Predators this
Hmm.
season for them to even be a playoff team or not.
I
This is
think
just
one.
crucial games.
I think one set you'll want to watch out of the two set games that they're playing each one. I just noticed this, and I think it is worth pointing out because of how we're viewing the middle section of the teams in terms of like power ranking, if we're wanting to call it that. Keep an eye on the fact that they play the Cobras at home twice, which there's no split there. You aren't going to Carolina. You get to host the Cobras on your terms in the jungle both times. So that's a positive for your schedule for a team that I think is going to be crucial. In those matchups to me will be crucial deciding if they're going to get a playoff seeding, because Carolina is in that same bracket of teams as like the Sharks, as the Predators,
Hmm.
as to us, like basically the rest of the muck. The other five teams in this league we kind of have put in the middle because we aren't 100%, but they both have cases. So, to me, having any advantage in that middle section and saying you have two home games, which in arena, you having that home crowd behind you is so damn important, even more so than in the outdoor game, in my opinion. So I think you got to take that. That those are opportunities right there. Getting those two, if you can sweep those games against Carolina and keep
Hmm.
up the pace in the entire league, you have a tiebreaker in your feather in your cap, which basically gives you, even if you tie with Carolina, keep this in mind. I always consider tiebreakers as an extra game on your rank, at least on terms of who's ahead in the section of the conference, or in this case the league. So that 2 game, say like a game lead or a tie, becomes a game lead, and
Hmm.
vice versa. You stack that. So you want to win those. To me, those games I think are crucial. If you can win the Cobra matchups, and you can kind of, maybe not say split the entire schedule, but like say you do split most of your schedule or you win series, that could be crucial in the long run for you either making or breaking a third or fourth seed coming towards July.
Hmm. Again, like it's very unique their schedule. They got 2 home games against Carolina. I think they're the only team that actually plays them on at home this year. And everyone else is a pretty balanced schedule. Of course, you're going to have the crucial series, like we've said about San Antonio, like we said about Jacksonville. Their crucial series are against each other, basically against San Antonio, Jacksonville. Are they who are those the top echelon teams in the league? For Orlando, what's that crucial series? If Orlando wants to be that 4 seed in the NAL, they have to win that head-to-head matchup against Carolina, and they might have to win that head-to-head matchup against the Warbirds or the Mustangs, one of those two teams,
Mm-hmm.
to be considered a 4 seed. Because I think me and you both can agree that Orlando is going to spend a lot of their time in the season, especially I think early in the season. If they stumble out of the gate, they're going to be in the muck for most of the season. And
Yeah.
from then week 10 to week 14, that's if they want to be that team that separates and gets into the battle for the top four, or they just stay idle and stay in the muck all year. And that's not going to be an issue, because we've seen Orlando in the past be in the muck all freaking year, and then the final 2 weeks decide, oh, well, let's win back-to-back games and be the 3rd seed. It's
Oh yeah.
happened. It's because there's only 7 teams in this league. There's going to be a team. In words of a coach, I'm not going to mention. There is going to be a team that is going to be in the cellar slash muck all year that gets into the playoffs and don't belong in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
That's from a coach, and no, it's not the one from Jacksonville. It's just eliminating that guy. Um, but yeah, you're going to have like we've seen the past. We've seen Carolina do it a couple years ago. We've seen Orlando do it a couple years ago. Honestly, you could say you saw Jacksonville do it last year, where they were just god awful for most of the year and just caught on fire in the right time and put a string of wins together, and they finally get in. Orlando, there's how their schedule is developed and how their schedule is made up. Again, that week 10 to week 15 time frame is pivotal. If they find a way to go 3-2 in that 5 game stretch, 4-1, hey, they're you can say they're the 4 seed. Honestly, I think, like you mentioned, I think they're going to be a team that's going to be competing with Carolina most of the way for that 3, 4, 5 spot in the
Hmm.
NAL. I think that especially having them home twice is going to be pivotal for them to be either a team that enters the playoffs or be a team that is on outside looking in. And it's going to come down to that 4 or 5 week period right there. But speaking of that, we're going to do something a little unique again. And people are wondering,
Yeah.
it's like, we have an interview coming? Probably, maybe. Stay tuned. It's an extra video. Um, Probably later tonight. If you're on YouTube right now, probably maybe Saturday morning. We'll let you know. But it will be an Orlando Predator player. There I go again. Pa, 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 pa. Orlando Predator player. There we go. So we're gonna do another little fun. We might start doing this for a couple of 3 more teams. Got Carolina next week, and then we got Orlando, the Albany Empire. Um, Bold takes. Orlando Predators. Bold take for 2023. Zach.
Hmm. Bold take for 2023. You know what? I think that Clarence Williams might, and this is where I'm going to go with, I think Clarence Williams leads the league in receiving yards this year. That's a bold one. And that's only because I think you have a more think about last year. Last year he came on the scene and he was at the end of the year one of the top performers every week in the league.
Mm-hmm.
I think with a consistent quarterback behind center all year in Jack Sheehan, I think that, and I hear some Albany fans going, with Darius Prince existing, I'm going, even with that, I think there's a chance. Man was on another level at the end of the season, was flying under the radar. Watch out for him. That does depend on Lonnie Outlaw if they
Mm-hmm.
do target him more, but I still think Williams was building something there. There's a reason they brought him back. And I think he has a good chance. That's my hot take. I think he can finish the year leading in reception yards in the NAL.
Well, I hear someone in the distance about you saying Clarence Williams. I think it's an Albany fan. Let's see.
How dare you!
You know, look, I mean, these are why you got hot takes, man. Doesn't mean
Um,
it's going to happen, but I think it can. I
my
think there's a
hot
chance.
my hot take is actually going to be pretty cool. I think Orlando's the only team that can actually do this because of again, I've given the credit to where credit's due to this building. I think Orlando sets the record again in 2023 for attendance. I think they'll be the first team to crack 10,000 in attendance this year.
Mm. Now that would be a massive win for the
Hmm.
NAL if they could get that. That is that would be pretty sweet. But I think that I can see that happening as long as they're a winning team by the end of the season. I think that last home game could be that. As long as they are winning consistently and are looking competent towards the end of the year.
Yeah. They were close. That last home game last year, I think was like 8,300 some fans. Just need another what 1,200, and there you are at 10. Um,
Yeah, it was about 1,700, but like still, like again, that's
Me
momentum.
doing math not so good.
That's momentum though. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean,
not crazy. I think that could happen.
so that's my bold take. I think the fan base is starting to get rejuvenized, and like the saying of all sayings for every football, baseball, basketball, whatever sport, winning cures all evils and all
Absolutely.
wounds. You can look at the NFL. Your favorite teams have a lot of wounds, a lot of holes, but man, they still find ways to win. But it cures it until the off season hits and you realize you're like, oh dear God, we need to find a way to fix these in free agency or in the draft. So a lot of fans know how that feels. And again, Orlando last home game was very impressive. 8,300 fans, biggest in the league. Jacksonville averages has the highest attendance by average, but having that many people at home, it's very impressive last year. That's one of the highlights last year for Orlando, and it's disappointing that they had that many fans in the last home game, and the product on the field wasn't considered, in my opinion, Orlando
Hmm.
Predator football. If
Yeah,
it's
I really
Orlando,
think that there's a chance there, man. Like I said, I love seeing the growth of the Orlando market every year so
okay.
far.
And if they can bring back the Orlando Predator brand from back from the '90s and early
Ooh.
2000s, the jungle can get pretty loud, and I
You,
think they have the ability to do so.
you know what I saw that I was very happy to see is they hinted at the jerseys this year for the Preds. They're
Hmm.
bringing back the claw marks back to the numbers. I'm telling you, I missed that last year. The jerseys last year for the Preds were solid, but I
Hmm.
really liked the 2021 look because they had something about the claw marks just make it that much cooler to me. I don't get it.
Hey, what I've noticed is every team in the league is kind of teasing new jerseys, but won't officially say they're getting new jerseys, but yet
That's
they're
got
teasing.
yeah. It's got to be coming soon. I mean,
Yeah, just
Warbirds, the Mustangs. I mean,
San Antonio's kind
San
of teased
Antonio's
it.
got a yeah. They're gonna have a newer look from what it sounds like too.
Orlando's teased it. I think
Mm-hmm.
Albany's teased it. I think our I don't know. This is just a hunch to me. I have no connections, and this might start a barn fire of why Jim are you doing this? Um, but how Albany's been doing their stuff this year and how they're bringing Albany back, it would be so nice if they do a retro night for a game and they wear
Could you
old
imagine?
Albany Firebird color. Yeah, that'd be awesome, wouldn't it? Because Eddie Brown's there, so why the heck not? Let's do an Albany Firebird um, throwback night. That'd be pretty. Their jerseys back in the day were pretty fire, in my opinion. I like
I
those
would
ones.
love to see that because I'll tell you one thing with Albany, I really like that they. I was really thought it was cool they brought the banners back to kind
Hmm.
of just kind of signify like, hey, like this is an all like Albany's arena history is important. So that was unique. I would love if they got the chance to do a throwback like that.
Yeah,
Um, and I mean, I think it's not too crazy. It really just depends. Can they pull it off, and is it feasible for them? Because I
yeah,
mean,
sure.
you know, we talk about this. This isn't the cost. The costs aren't as the revenues aren't as big in this section. But if they can do it, that'd be pretty sweet. I mean,
Just call
I would
Antonio.
love
Just
an
call
alt
AB.
uniform night.
Hey, AB, can
Yeah,
cash
'cause I
this
could see
check?
right. I could see it right now. Imagine you get those orange jerseys, the Firebird, like the bird logo on the side again, or the flaming white helmets with the bird wings, like from the early '90s when they first started out, before they switched over to more of the cartoony like emblem or mascot. Like one of those two, when Brown played, I could see that. That'd be freaking sweet. And Darius Prince running that as well.
Well, that, you said cartooning. They're not as bad as the throwback Tampa Bay Storm jerseys.
Well, I mean, those are Zubas. So
that was really going back.
those are
But
Zubas is why.
but
I mean, Predators did that too in the early days as well. They had the Zuba nights like that.
true.
So
Uh, we've been asked if there's any jerseys being released by anybody. We know West Texas is going to debut theirs. San Antonio's teased it. Orlando's been teasing it.
yeah.
Um, so eventually something. Again, Orlando, Albany stuff. That's just me. I think it'd be pretty cool. Because
Hmm.
I even asked a couple of guys, we need to do a Sharks throwback night from old jerseys, and they were like, we wear the same jerseys for the original. And then I
Yeah.
look back, go. Yeah, you're right. We still wear the same helmet, same red helmet, same
Right.
red on black.
I say
Um,
they haven't changed too much, but no, they need to. I will. I'm a proponent for bringing the red helmet in more consistently. I like the white helmets, but I like the red ones too, man. I think those have some charm. Like just one game, like one
I
game a
think
year.
I might have to ask Skyler or a couple of my shark buddies. I think we had an all black helmet at one point with the
Oh,
red.
dude, that would be sweet. Can you imagine that? That would be a
It,
really sweet look with some of the opponents you play.
it was an all black, and the shark was actually highlighted in red.
Mm,
Not the whole shark logo was red. It was just a highlight, like a neon light type of red. I want to know if that was a helmet or was just a proposed helmet. I was like, man,
I need
that
this
would
in
have
my
been.
life.
Yeah, there's a couple helmets. I'm like, bro, like I saw a helmet for the Sharks the Jaguars are going to do for this past season, but unfortunately they didn't get approval from Nike or from the NFL in time.
Ah,
Which was an all white helmet, and the logo for the Jaguars was all teal highlights. I was like, oh, this is awesome because they're going to try and do some all white game, and the NFL said no, can't do it. It was too late in those. Didn't realize in the National Football League, ladies and gentlemen, you got to put requests in for jerseys and helmet styles in almost 5 weeks in advance. Did not know that.
yeah, it's a bit. You got to be ready and prepared.
So when they ask you fans, hey, what do you want to wear Saturday? Vote for it. They don't listen to you. They act like they're listening to you, but they already told the league what they got to wear because they got to put that in
Right.
5 weeks in advance.
We all got time for this.
Yeah, they're like, oh, you wanted the veg? Oh, we're going to wear all teal. No, we're not. Yes, we are.
We'll keep that noted for next time. But yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned later tonight or Saturday for extra content for the Orlando Predators player interview. It would either be me and Zach or just myself. Zach is currently in the process of a big move, so next week will be different. But again, we won't be 900 miles apart. We'll be 1,400 miles apart. But then, with technology and StreamYard, it seems like we're literally separated by 1 inch, depending on the separation of the
Isn't it a beautiful thing? Isn't that a beautiful thing? We can do this show from both ends of the country, and still like that. We underappreciate this aspect of the podcasting side of not a little bit. I think is just we can do this from our living rooms now, and not, would be great someday that you and I get one in person because we will have that happen sometime. Yeah. But
it'll be at the championship game in Jacksonville.
Hey, there you go. He said Jacksonville. He did the thing.
He did it. He did it again. You know what? People up in Albany would be like,
"You just made the list."
I'm glad you clicked it because I was about to click it on.
But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, this has been episode 88 in the jungle of the Orlando Predators. Stick around later tonight or tomorrow morning for more NAL action coverage of the Orlando Predators preseason 2023. I'm all discombobulated. That's Zach Callum. I'm Jim Mernier. Am I Jim Mernier? Dang it. Did I read the teleprompter wrong?
You better be, man.
But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, this has been episode 88 Into the Jungle Orlando Predators. We'll see you guys next week.
Covering all your favorite parts of the 50-yard fight. This is the Inside the Walls podcast with Zach Heilman and Jim Mernier.